Hi and welcome to the Resources Roadhouse. I'm Wally Graham, and today I'm speaking with Allan Kelly, who's Managing Director of Miramar Resources, who recently listed on the boards of the ASX about a week or so ago our time. Now, Allan, it was a pretty successful IPO, 8 million raised, well supported, the 20 cent a share offer. It came on the boards quite spectacularly around the top 50s sort of mark, and now settled back down, still in positive territory, very good positive territory around the high 30s to the 40s mark.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we had great IPO. The IPO itself opened and shut in a couple of hours, and we had bids for somewhere around 15 million. So it was a fantastic start. As you say, so we listed on the 22nd of October, so it's only been a couple of weeks. And it's a very simple story, WA gold focus. So I guess the projects, the more advanced projects are in the Eastern Goldfields. We've got Gidgee, Glandor and Randalls. Then a bit more early stage in the Murchison. We've got 3 projects there and a couple of conceptual plays up in the Gascoyne. Our focus with our first programs will be at Gidgee. It's about 15 kilometres north of Kalgoorlie on the highway. So if anyone knows Kalgoorlie, it's sort of between the Two-Up School and the Gidgee Roaster, hence the name. And really nice land position that we've got there, pretty underexplored, which is quite amazing given its location, close to Kalgoorlie. But the main target there is a thing we call 8 Mile KCGM, historically defined a 300,000 ounce deposit immediately south of our tenement boundary in the sort of 2013-14. Some spectacular hits there, things like 281 metres at a gram in an intrusive body there. And there's been no drilling effectively on our side of the tenement boundary. So we think there's potential for us to pretty much just step out from the tenement boundary and try and hit the same stuff. And if we could replicate what they've got, then you're looking at, potentially a sort of 500,000-600,000 ounce deposit combined. Within trucking distance of a number of mills. You've got Kalgoorlie, you've got Counterbell, Paddington up the road. So, great starting place for us to start.
You are planning to get out there and start drilling as soon as possible?
Yeah, we're up there last week, pegging and clearing the lines, the first sort of air core lines that we're going to do. And then we should be on the ground there with the rig, hopefully at the end of this month. So the program should take about 2 or 3 weeks, get the results, get the samples into the lab, and if we're lucky, we might even get some results by Christmas. And then the idea would be to follow that up with further air core plus or minus RC and diamond drilling to see what's going on there.
All right, well, no doubt Gidgee's going to take up quite a lot of your initial focus and a lot of your time. But I did notice on your announcement last week that you've also picked up more tenements in the Gascoyne region at the Bangamall tenements.
That's all that about? Yeah, that's a conceptual thing that I've actually had an interest in for sort of almost 15 years. What happened is a few years ago, the Geoscience Australia put out this nickel copper PGE atlas, and it was a sort of a compilation of data for the whole of Australia, and they highlighted areas that were prospective for nickel copper PGEs, and that led to discovery by Chalice at the Julimar discovery down near Bindoon. And I was looking at some of the stuff that Chalice had been putting out, and I didn't actually know about the atlas. So I had a look at the atlas, and it highlighted another area up near in the Bangamall. And it's an area I've sort of been looking at for a number of years. And the key ingredients there for these Proterozoic nickel copper PGE deposits, so things like the Chalice discovery, things like Nova, Nebo Babel, even some of the stuff up in the Kimberleys, these major structures that are on the edges of these Archean cratons, the right rocks. You've got nickel copper PGE anomalies in stream sediments up there, and you've got these big EM conductors. So I started putting all that sort of data together early this year and pegged 4 areas, which we then were put into Miramar. Since we pegged those areas, First Quantum have sort of joined the area, and then as we started promoting the IPO and had some presentations out there and the prospectus got out there, a couple of other people picked up on this concept of this Bangamall area as having prospective rocks for these nickel copper PG anomalies. So we've seen a bit of a staking rush since sort of April, May this year. And we're pretty much completely surrounded up there now. So we quickly put a couple of other applications in, but there's now a lot of people looking at the same area. So as I said, it's got, all the key ingredients at a regional scale. And once those tenements get granted, we'll look at getting out there on the ground and doing some geochem sampling, mapping, and then potentially some geophysical work as well to see what we can find.
All right, well that all sounds pretty interesting too. And the Murchison tenements, the Murchison projects, what have you got down there?
Yeah, we've got 3 areas. The Murchison's obviously an area I know pretty well, having worked there for sort of over 25 years. The concept was simple: try and pick up underexplored greenstone belts in close proximity to existing operations. So we've got 3 areas there: Garden Gully, which is up near Meekatharra, Lakeside, which is just sort of west of Kew, and then the main probably interesting one is I think called Langwell, and that sits in a triangle sort of between Deflector, Golden Grove, Rothsay and Yalgoo. It sort of sits right in the middle. There's an underexplored greenstone belt. There's some high-grade rock chips there that have been found historically, up to 16 grams per tonne. A company called Jervois Mining did some auger drilling back in 2009 and generated some very large, coherent auger gold anomalies, but for whatever reason, they never drilled them. So these things are sort of from 2 kilometres up to 8 kilometres long. And I thought, well, that's too good to be true. So we've gone out there, pegged that ground, been out in the ground, had a look. There's no drilling that we can see that tests those anomalies. So we've got permitted program of works for those areas and should be drilling there hopefully early in the next year.
All right, well, it sounds like, you've got quite a diverse little portfolio there up and down WA, but you've also got a bit of a following straight away. Even before you landed onto the ASX listing. So there's quite a bit of excitement already being generated just in anticipation of what Miramar's got to offer, basically.
Yeah, well, as I said, I tried to put together a pretty simple story. So WA, gold focus, in areas where there's known mineralisation and existing processing plants and things. So the whole thing about, the whole strategy behind Miramar is adding value, creating value by finding things and then monetising them. So the fact that the projects are sort of close to existing operations means that if you do find something, then you've got a lot of options. You don't necessarily have to develop it themselves. You could do a joint venture with someone, or you could end up selling it to someone who's got a mill just down the road. So the whole idea is picking things up cheaply, adding value, and then working out the best way to monetize it and create value for shareholders.
Well, it's a strategy that it seems to be paying off for a few others around the place in the last year or so. So there's no reason it shouldn't work for you guys either. So well, you'll be out drilling soon out at Gidgee. So we'll look forward to seeing those results come through. That'll be probably the first lot of news to come through, unless of course you go mad and there's anything else that sort of comes up in the meantime. But we will be keeping an eye on what's happening for Miramar. So until then, Allan Kelly, I'm excited to keep in touch and keep an eye on what's happening.
Great, thanks, Wally.
Cheers.